everyone, this is Kelly and I'm here just to do a quick tips and tricks video. I just want to start to do a few just little tips and tricks or just little bits of information that I think might be helpful. And in this one I just want to talk really quick about the suits. We obviously have the Major Arcana suit, which we mostly see as this progression of the soul or the person in the Fool card as it progresses across the entire spectrum of the Major Arcana, learning and growing and deepening their own personal story and their personal trajectory on that broad scale of becoming the best version of a human being as they can become. Now, the deck that I'm using today is the Tarocchi Vintage by Mr. Freeborg. I recently did a walkthrough of it. I'll put a link to the walkthrough in the description, but that's the deck I'm just using to talk about the minors real quick. So we know that the minors in a modern context are really associated to the elements. There are a couple different ways that these can be associated, but for the most part, the suit of pentacles or stones or coins is most often associated with the element of earth. The suit of cups, usually cups, chalices, bowls, that is most often associated with the suit of water. The suit of wands or batons or staves, or I'm trying to think of options people might put it to, is most often associated with fire. Again, there are exceptions. And the suit of swords, which is most often, sometimes feathers, swords, arrows, most often associated with the suit or the element of air. Again, there are exceptions. Sometimes wands are air and swords are fire. Sometimes that's the one you see the most, but most of the decks today, those are the elemental associations in a modern context. These were not always associated in historical decks, but in a modern context, that elemental connection is very strong. And it is certainly the way that I read minors, which is to take the number cards and add that to what I know the element to be, and that's giving us the meaning of the card. And then the court cards are kind of telling us what we should be doing, how we should be acting with that particular energy. So we often see these in differing orders. The traditional elemental order would be this way, where you would have the fire at the top, you would have air, then you would have water, and then you would have earth, from the sort of most weighty and most physical up to the most light and the most esoteric, with spirit or the Major Arcana being at the highest point. We also see this trajectory in geomancy, where the top line is fire, the second line is air, the third line is water, and the fourth line is earth. I personally have come to a trajectory that makes a lot of sense to me, that is this way, where we have air at the top in the mind. So if you think about this as a body, that is in the mind and the intuition and the clarity that we get in guidance. We have sort of the passion and in some ways the heart in fire. It is the most outward pushing of our physical, our personal energy. The down in the belly, where our intuition lies and our emotional landscape lies, with water. And then at the feet or at the earth and grounded area, physicality of the pentacles. And this makes the most sense to me because if we really think about the minors as what it is that we are doing with energy, with our personal power bank, and how we're interacting with the outer power banks, and how all of this is moving, this makes a lot of sense to me. When our feet are planted on the ground and on the earth, right, we are pulling up energy from the earth, from the physical world around us, from other people. This is how we're connected in, for me, to the web and all of those sort of magical energy ley lines, or energetic ley lines that are out there. When our feet are on the earth, it is connecting us out into the greater web, and we are also drawing energy from that, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes in between, right? So energy connection, the way we pull energy up. The suit of water for me is the belly. Right below the surface of it is our emotional landscape, and then when we go a little bit deeper, this is our internal power base, right? This is our personal inner power bank that we are drawing from. And if we're not then also drawing in energy to refill that, we can really tap ourselves out. If all of the outward pushing energy, which we're going to talk about in a minute, if all of that is just coming from our inner power bank, we can drain ourselves dry pretty quickly if we're not going deeper and pulling to sort of refuel our inner power bank. But this is the water in the High Priestess, the water in the Moon card. The whole suit of water is about our inner power bank and our emotional, at the very top level, that impacts our emotional landscape as well. Fire is, if the water is our inner power bank, the suit of fire is how we are pushing that energy outward. So it's using our internal power bank and putting and manifesting change, manifesting out our power out of ourselves and into the world. So if our feet are grounded and our belly is sort of this container of energy that we're holding on to, then with our other magical hands, we are, magicians and sorcerers, and we are then shoving that energy out of ourselves like a fireball shooting out of our hands, and we are taking and transforming and changing and manifesting outward and into the world, right? So water is like a holding cell of roiling to calm energy, and fire is pushing that energy outward from calm to and steady to roiling, depending on the number that we're doing, right? So we can feel very sorceress-like, where we're holding our inner power and we're pushing that power outward. And then the suit of swords, or air, this is the up in the branches of the tree where we need clarity, so we can see where to hold, when we should be holding and when we should be pushing out. We have the clarity, we have the ability to see, we have the ability to gain guidance, to use logic, so that we can manage the capacities of our water and our fire. So that's how I see, when we think about energy and power, that's a way of looking at the suits as what they're trying to talk to us about, what we're doing energetically with the four suits. Now, again, for each of those four suits, we have the 10 number cards, right? And so, this isn't going to be a lesson on the numbers in the suit, but we're seeing sort of a trajectory. If we're looking at that sense of clarity and guidance, or whatever suit we're looking at, aces are that spark and that first fresh beginning that holds all of the potential of the suit. This is both low and high number, because it holds the full potential in that sparking energy. We're just kind of sparking that new. Twos come in and they're interacting. They're either crossing, like we see often with the swords. They're opened up and creating a pathway, like we see with the wands. They're attracting, like we often see with the cups. And they're juggling with the pentacles, like we're often seeing in the pentacles. But they're interacting energies there. Threes come in Odd numbers are often movement active oriented numbers. Twos are often finding the balance and sort of balancing out or harmonizing a situation. The 3 comes in and it is growth. We're starting to have growth with that particular energy. 4, we want a stable we want to work towards a stable space in that particular energy. 5 comes in, shakes that up again. We can either preemptively strike and shake it up, or for some reason it's energy that needs to or is being shook up in some way. 6s come in and balance and harmonize out that energy of the 5. And then 7, we get our footing and we have new growth that occurs. 8 comes in and we double stabilize that into a space of mastery, or we need to have that mastered. 9 comes in and is 3 plus 3 plus 3, high energy. It's energy bouncing all over the place. That can be very overwhelming, but also very powerful to utilize. And then 10 comes in and we have that footing again. We have mastered and come to a full completion. 1 plus 0 takes us right back to the beginning again, and we start the loop all over again. So in the Suit of Swords, this is about the mental capacity, logic, and guidance and clarity. If we're talking about water, we're talking about our emotional landscape, and deeper below that, our inner power base. If we're talking about fire, it is how that is manifesting outward and creating change, and outputting our creative energy. It's outward putting there. If we're talking about earth, it is foundational on how we are connected to our resources, time, energy, money, people, how we're connecting energetically out into the world and interacting. So that is that. So then we of course have our court cards that then turn around and say, okay, well, what should we should be doing something with this energy. With the pages, we should be learning, fluid, flexible, playing with the energy of the suit. With the knights and cavaliers, we should be focused and moving, active movement with that particular energy. With the queens, for me, the queens are telling us you need to change something in your physical environment so that their energy can grow, because we're nurturing that energy towards growth. And then the kings are saying, look, you should be ruling, managing, deliberate, intentional usage of that energy, not being pushed around by the energy of that suit. So we have the elements that can tell us what we are doing with the energy surrounding us, within us, surrounding us in a situation, and the numbers kind of letting us, getting a heads up forecast of what's going on, and the court cards coming in saying what we should be doing about that or utilizing that energy with. So just a little sort of cap into how I currently sort of see the suits and the energies that they represent, and how the rest of the suit cards talk to us about what those particular suits and elements are talking to us about what we should be doing with that energy. So I hope that this was interesting and useful. There are many different ways to approach the minors. This is just my particular way to approach the minors, and I hope that this helps as you're thinking about them for yourself.